Hi, I'm Kerry Meyer. I'm the production designer on CSI New York. I was the production designer on CSI Miami, second season, and we did a crossover episode to introduce this series, CSI New York. What you're going to see today are many of the sets that we created on the crossover from CSI Miami, and then the extensions to the sets that we made coming into this new series. We're on a very strict schedule that requires us to photograph each one of these episodes in an 8-day period. One thing that we've done here on the stage, we've created this lighting corridor that lights 2 sets. These lights can turn around, focus all their light on all these windows in our autopsy, then they can be flipped around to light all the windows in our CSI lab. Here we are in the central bullpen of our CSI lab. It's the main lobby. In the background, you've got Mac Taylor's office. From this location, essentially you can get to any lab in the facility. Overhead, we've got this catwalk platform that makes a large L through our set. On this platform, we can take a walk and talk scene, and on a crane arm, carry an entire walk and talk on this elevated platform. Here we are in Mac Taylor's office. This is where he oversees the entire CSI lab. He's got a very large desk. As you can see in the background, we have some backstory to him. He was a Marine. But this is the autopsy set. It has 4 autopsy tables and enough capacity to store a lot of bodies. I'd like to introduce to you our construction coordinator, Steve Fiddler, and our decorator, Cindy Coburn, and they decorate and build all these sets. We've got a lot of wilding situations, a lot of set pieces wild out for camera so that they're not in the way for camera. You can see these columns wild out. A lot of these walls pull off the sides. A lot of the ceiling pieces can wild out as well.
We built this for the CSI Miami, CSI New York crossover, and we had to build it in a manner where it could be built as a permanent set, so it needed to be strong enough to last for years, but it also needed to be built in a fashion where we could take it apart and transport it.
All this tile is just MDF, which is like a particle board that's been routed to look like tile and then painted. These are our autopsy cadaver freezers. These go in and out, obviously, to hold the bodies. We've got 2 practical ones. All the rest are purely fake. This is completely constructed. If we come over here, we've got our autopsy tables. And these are really nice autopsy tables. We've got one real one with a full-on base. This one rotates. It goes up and down. The other 3 are solely just the tops, built onto fake bases that we constructed ourselves. And then of course we've got 4 real autopsy lights that can focus the beam or flood the beam. They're on a complete rotating arm. They can go anywhere in the set, essentially.
Dr. Hawks, so glad I could get an appointment.
Danny Cannon, who directed the crossover pilot episode, prefers to have sets that are quite narrow and very long. So what we worked with quite a bit here was obviously getting that depth, but getting a lot of foreground in the middle of the set as well, so that you've got things for fixtures to be on, for actors to walk around. Initially, the idea was that after 9/11 in New York, they were dealing with so many bodies that Hawk ended up basically living here. And so if I can take you over here, the idea is that he was just, entrenched in so much work in the autopsy that he just ended up putting a little bunk bed inside his office and would just sort of, live here and shack out. And you can see he had a little bed here. We had a very sort of dark, dour mood after 9/11.
Oh. Dr. Hawks?
Oh. Sorry.
Your Jane Doe did me in.
Since then, we've sort of lightened up the mood of the show a little bit. We now take Hawk out on location, and he goes and investigates crime scenes. So as we exit autopsy, we walk towards the DNA lab, which is all part of the medical examiner's office.
I'm back to torture you.
One woman's torture is another woman's challenge.
We come through this hallway and into this old office. What we really wanted to say with this set was that this was a space that had been retrofitted for DNA. We don't really know what it was prior to that, but it had an old retrofitted feel. This whole wall over here, it has a lot of translucency and a lot of backlight as well. Again, we're trying to cut out the actors, and make it so the set is almost completely pre-lit. One problem that you have when you have this much glass in a set is that not only is it a problem for camera, they've got lights and things that are in the background as they're filming, and you can pick up a reflection of a light, but also the sound department has booms and things like that, and they're trying to control the reflections of the boom so that that's not in the shot as well. So all this glass, as you can see, is gimbaled within the frame, and then it has a little black felt. There's about an eighth of an inch space, and a little black felt fills the space so that as you're watching on TV, you can't really see the light leak through the window. Also, you can see I'm operating this door. It's on a slide, but when we're photographing, the door just opens up by itself. What's happening here is that this is on a cable rig called an endless. It goes around a couple pulleys and up to a green bed where a special effects operator operates the door. It opens and closes all by itself. It's a pretty simple rig, but what we've also done is try to incorporate this technology into the set as though it were part of the original architecture.
This is the reconstruction room where a lot of the crimes are reconstructed. This basically was Anthony Zucker's idea as far as having a room that was very scary. This closet basically has all the tools that they use when they're reenacting the crime. They would just take the curtain, it's on a tracking system, and they would just do blood projections onto the curtain.
What we gain by science is, after all, sadness.
Thomas Hardy.
There's no mention of pain in that quote.
Give me a hand.
A very important dominant theme that Danny Cannon really wanted to portray in the series is this idea of old and new. So overhead you've got these old pipes, it's an old corridor, and as you pan through, we walk into the fingerprint and layout room. As you can see, this space is very white, very bright, it's high tech. We're trying to show the difference between the old corridor and the brand new lab. Overhead, you see we've got very low ceilings. We've designed this massive light that runs the entire length of the set. It really gives us our main fill light for the scene. We don't have any windows in here, so we're not bringing in any exterior light. This is a very sort of fluorescent lab. Here we are, we're entering our trace lab. As you can see, we've got slightly higher ceilings here. This lab is where they analyze the trace elements that they'll pick up at a crime scene. Overhead, we're still lighting with fluorescent, but in the background we have some older architecture, again trying to play the old against the new. You're seeing the old steel from the warehouse space with the catwalk overhead. You can shoot through this grating and see people walking. You can be overhead and see action happening below the catwalk as well in the trace lab. Here we are in the AV lab. It's a very dark space. It's dark for a reason. We're trying to really focus on the monitors. So to pick up the exposure on the monitor, we've created a very dark room. We've picked up the panel detail from our trace lab and our DNA and fingerprint layout. But now instead of them being white, they're black.